Hey folks, JOC here with your daily dose of political mayhem on Ranting Politics headline updates. We've got quite a spicy lineup for you today, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for all of it. First up, our neighbors up north are finally getting serious about border security. Prime Minister Trudeau just cut a last-minute deal with Trump to avoid those hefty tariffs. And let me tell you, it's about time Canada joined the party on fighting fentanyl. Then we're diving into Trump's latest executive action bombshell, pulling the plug on UNRWA funding and giving the UN Human Rights Council the boot. Again, you know what they say about history repeating itself. In what might be the most audacious move of the week, New Jersey's Governor Phil Murphy is practically daring the feds to come knocking at his door over his interesting choice of house guest. That's going to ruffle some feathers. We've also got the scoop on Trump's plans to potentially dismantle the Department of Education, with none other than Elon Musk playing efficiency expert. And finally, a seriously concerning alert about Chinese-made medical devices that might be doing more than just monitoring patients. Buckle up, folks. This is going to be one wild ride through today's political circus. In what can only be described as a classic 11th hour negotiation, President Trump has agreed to hit pause on those threatened Canadian tariffs, but not without securing some pretty significant concessions from our friends in the Great White North. Prime Minister Trudeau, facing the prospect of a 25% tariff hammer coming down on Canadian goods, finally picked up the phone for what must have been quite the conversation. Let me break down what Canada's putting on the table here, and folks, it's substantial. We're talking about a $1.3 billion border security package that's going to add some serious muscle to their side of the border. They're rolling out new helicopters, beefing up their tech game, and adding more boots on the ground. Trudeau's even creating a new position, a fentanyl czar, because apparently that's what it takes to get serious about the drug crisis these days. Perhaps the most interesting part of this deal is Canada's commitment to label cartels as terrorist organizations. They're also setting up a joint strike force with the U.S. to tackle organized crime, fentanyl trafficking, and money laundering. That's about 10,000 personnel working on border protection, which is quite the step up from their previous efforts. Now, this isn't just Trump playing hardball for the fun of it. The administration has been hammering home the point that both Canada and Mexico haven't been pulling their weight in stopping illegal migration and drug flow, particularly fentanyl. And when Trump claims the U.S. has been subsidizing Canada to the tune of $200 billion annually, well, you can see why he's been pushing for change. The deal buys both sides 30 days to work out the details, but it's worth noting that some Canadian provinces were already threatening to pull American alcohol from their shelves in retaliation. Funny how quickly things can change when billions in trade are on the line. This reporting comes to us from Fox News, and I've got to say, it's fascinating to watch how the threat of tariffs can suddenly make border security a top priority. Well, folks, we've got some major shakeups in the world of international relations today. President Trump is taking aim at two UN organizations that have been thorns in his side before, UNRWA and the Human Rights Council. And this time, he's not just talking about it, he's pulling the trigger. Let's start with UNRWA, the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees. Trump's cutting off the cash flow, and when you hear why, you might wonder what took so long. Turns out several planners and participants in the October 7th attacks were actually on UNRWA's payroll. Yeah, you heard that right. The organization we've been funding with American tax dollars had Hamas members on staff. The numbers are pretty staggering here. According to Impact SE, more than 10% of UNRWA's main and senior education staff in Gaza were members of either Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad. We're talking about an organization that received $154 million from U.S. coffers in 2023 alone. But Trump's not stopping there. He's also pulling America out of the UN Human Rights Council again. And if you're wondering about the again part, that's because we've been through this dance before. Trump withdrew in 2018, Biden brought us back in 2021, and now we're heading for the exit once more. The reasoning? Well, as former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley pointed out, the Council passed more resolutions against Israel than against North Korea, Iran, and Syria combined. Talk about a skewed perspective. The Biden administration tried to argue that having a seat at the table would help reform the council, but clearly, Trump's taking a different approach. This all comes just as Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is scheduled to meet with Trump. Perfect timing? Maybe. Strategic? Definitely. The executive orders are set to be signed Tuesday, and you can bet this will be a major topic of discussion when these two leaders get together. Now, here is a bit of a head-scratcher for you. If you thought the border situation couldn't get any more bizarre, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy just said, "Hold my beer." In a move that's either incredibly bold or incredibly reckless, depending on your perspective, Murphy recently admitted during an interview with Blue Wave New Jersey that he's housing someone with a questionable immigration status right above his garage. But here's where it gets spicy. Murphy didn't just admit to housing this person, he actually threw down the gauntlet to federal authorities. His exact words? "Good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her." Now that's what I call painting a target on your own back. This revelation comes at a particularly interesting time, with ICE conducting operations across New Jersey, including a major raid in Newark just last month. The timing couldn't be more dramatic if it were scripted for reality TV. Now let's put this in perspective. Former Trump border czar Tom Homan has made it crystal clear that knowingly harboring and concealing an illegal immigrant from ICE is a violation of federal law. So we've got a sitting governor essentially daring federal authorities to come and enforce the law at his residence. Murphy's office has been pretty tight-lipped about the details, dodging questions faster than a politician at a press conference. When asked about recent ICE operations in Newark, they gave us the classic, "We've requested more information" response, while carefully dancing around the elephant in the room. Their boss's very public admission. What makes this situation even more remarkable is that Murphy and his wife Tammy apparently made this decision quite deliberately. According to the governor, they looked at the situation and basically said, "You know what? Let's have her live at our house." It's like a political game of chicken, with Murphy putting himself squarely in the crosshairs of federal immigration enforcement. Hold on to your educational standards, folks, because the Trump administration is about to take a sledgehammer to the Department of Education. According to White House officials, plans are in motion to essentially defund and potentially dismantle the entire department, with an announcement expected to drop any day now. The mastermind behind this massive downsizing operation? None other than Elon Musk, who's been tapped to lead Trump's government efficiency crusade. And let me tell you, he's not just dipping his toes in. He's diving headfirst into the deep end of bureaucratic restructuring. We're talking about an executive order that would effectively shut down every function of the education department that isn't explicitly written into law. Anything that's not set in legislative stone could either get the axe or be shuffled off to other departments like a game of governmental musical chairs. And they're not wasting any time. Just this past Friday, dozens of Department of Education employees got surprise letters putting them on administrative leave. Talk about a rough way to start your weekend. But that's not all. Musk's efficiency team has already made waves by gaining access to some of Treasury's most sensitive payment systems, and they've even started locking some career federal employees out of their own computers. It's like a corporate takeover, but instead of a company, they're restructuring the entire federal government. Republicans who've been gunning for the education department since the Biden era's student loan forgiveness programs and DEI initiatives are probably breaking out the champagne. The department they've criticized for years might soon be getting more than just a haircut. We're talking full makeover, possibly right down to extinction. In a concerning development that sounds like it's straight out of a techno-thriller, U.S. authorities have raised a red flag about Chinese-made patient monitors that might be doing more than just keeping an eye on vital signs. The FDA and CISA have discovered a sneaky backdoor in Context's CMS 8000 patient monitors that could turn these life-saving devices into potential security nightmares. Here's the kicker. These monitors, which are currently being used in hospitals across America and Europe, aren't just collecting your heart rate and blood pressure. Once connected to the internet, they're apparently gathering personal patient information and shipping it off to parts unknown, specifically to some mysterious third-party university that nobody seems to want to name. And it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. This backdoor isn't just a passive security flaw. It could potentially allow unauthorized users to crash the devices, mess with their functions, or corrupt the data they're collecting. It's like leaving your front door unlocked and finding out someone's been rearranging your furniture while you're sleeping. The FDA isn't taking any chances. They're telling healthcare providers to either yank these monitors offline or stop using them altogether if they need those remote monitoring features. This also applies to the same devices that are being sold under a different name, the Epsomed MN120 patient monitors. It's like putting lipstick on a potentially compromised pig. While there haven't been any reported incidents yet, SAIS's research team found some pretty alarming stuff when they dug into the device's firmware. They discovered code that lets these monitors download and run unverified files without anyone knowing about it. That's about as reassuring as finding out your security guard has been leaving the bank vault open just in case. In the world of medical devices, where every update and change should be carefully tracked and verified, this kind of sneaky behavior is raising more red flags than a parade in Beijing. And while Contech has been suspiciously quiet about the whole thing, the message from our healthcare watchdogs is clear. These monitors might be monitoring more than just your health. My friends, what a wild ride through today's headlines we've had, from Canada finally stepping up their border game after Trump's tariff threat, to the UN getting a reality check on their UNRWA funding. We saw Governor Murphy basically daring the feds to come knocking at his garage apartment, and watched as plans to potentially dismantle the Department of Education started taking shape with Elon Musk running point on government efficiency. And let's not forget about those Chinese patient monitors that might be sharing a bit more than just your vital signs. It just goes to show you that in today's political landscape, you need to stay informed and stay ahead of the curve. The stories we covered today aren't just headlines. They're pieces of a larger puzzle that affects all of us, from our healthcare privacy to our education system, from international relations to what's happening right in our own backyard. For all the latest updates, make sure you're following us on X at RantingRP, and don't forget to check out rantingpolitics.com for exclusive content, deep dives into the stories that matter, and our full episode archive. This is JOC signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics headline updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.